I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. Today is Thursday, September 12th. And good news in my opinion is it's not 800 degrees in my garage today. So actually I'm not going to be sweating while I make my video, hopefully. Speaking of the weather, it's been windy in a lot of areas this week. And I think we all have been hearing about that from the guys fishing offshore and everything else. But this weekend the weather looks pretty good everywhere, surprisingly. I'm hoping the forecast holds true, but if it does, there's pretty much little to no wind in most areas. Even the offshore banks and stuff have fairly light breezes compared to what we've been dealing with. That's good news for the Channel Islands. They've been hit pretty hard here for a while. But that doesn't really seem to have put the fishing off. I heard today that the Aloha Spirit and the Gray Light combined for 29 sea bass for their 2 trips. I think the Aloha Spirit had 11 and or 14. The other Gray Light had 15. I'm not sure. They've got room available tomorrow on the Aloha Spirit. They may not now, but they did as of earlier today. And with good weather up there this weekend, might be a good opportunity to get up there and fish with those guys. Or if you're a private boater, maybe head up to that zone, but don't fish by those guys. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to report up there because not a lot of people have been fishing due to the weather they've been having. But things look good now, so hopefully they'll continue to bite. Yeah, sorry about that. Heading down, I'm going to hit San Nick and Santa Barbara Island. There's a lot of offshore fishing happening around there, so some of the boats are likely fishing the islands. I know that the Pride fished Santa Barbara the other day, and I got a report from Vincent Benlock, who caught a nice yellow at night there. Good sized fish at the island there for him. And I know that the full day trips out at Marina del Rey and Redondo fish out at SBI as well. My friend Todd Matsuda fishing the Betty Jean got an absolutely monster lingcod earlier this week out there. They're catching some yellows too. If you guys watch or read my articles, you know I hate Santa Barbara Island because it's so inconsistent. But the dirt clod seems to be biting right now. But if I were to go out there, I can guarantee it won't be. Same with Nick. I'm sure there's some fish biting around there as well. If you go on a multi-day trip and they're fishing bluefin zone up in that area, you might end up at Nick or SBI during the day or overnight. So always an opportunity for something good there. Big halibut, shallow water rockfish, all that stuff. And down to Clemente, it's been getting some coverage again. The Fury's been there off and on during the week. They had a good score on sea bass one day. They're catching some yellows. They're catching some halibut. Most of the sea bass are coming on live squid, but there's squid to be made over there, which is good news. I know the Thunderbird was over there today, and they had a 27 yellowtail on their overnight trip, and they were very thankful that the wind was not blowing for a change. So that's something. And it's continued to be very little bass fisherman coverage. My friends Gary Reyes and Jay Jones actually headed over there this last weekend. They gave the uncooperative tuna a break and went to Clemente and had a great day of bass fishing on weedless swim baits that Gary makes. They're called Reyes swim baits, and they're available at some of the local stores. I know LA Fishing Alliance has them, and I'm sure there's some others. But you can find him on Instagram if you're interested in checking out his baits. Heading into Cat, the island is fishing like the island's fishing. Bass, bonita, barracuda, maybe yellow, nothing too exciting. The marlin are biting at the island pretty well, though. They had the Balboa Angling Club Master Angler Billfish tournament last weekend. I sat out because we were going to fish it in Jimmy's boat, and it was supposed to be too rough. Well, it ended up being beautiful weather, and the marlin were biting. As expected, there was a high loss percentage due to these fish being very large. A lot of 150-pound plus fish out there. And if you're unfamiliar with the tournament, they fish a light line, and you're scored on releases based on the pound test you fish. So if you fish 12-pound tests, I think it's like 240 points. It goes down from there. They do 12, 16, 20-pound, and I think 30-pound. So if you want to be competitive in that tournament, normally you need to fish 12 or 16-pound. But with these big fish, a lot of the guys that were doing that were getting destroyed. And if you're not a marlin fisherman, talking about catching a marlin on a 12 or 16 pound test may sound absolutely insane to you. It's not really all that tough. It's a challenge compared to catching them on 30 or 50 pound, but if you got a proficient angler and a guy who knows how to drive the boat and follow these fish around and stuff, you can get them pretty easily without having problems if they're not giant and they don't sound. So of all the boats here, my friend Charlie Albright on a Kiakai, and his dad fished it, and Charlie got the High Angler Award. That's kind of like the most coveted thing. That's the angler that gets the most individual points, and I think he had 2 fish on 20 and 1 fish on 16, if I heard correctly. And I don't remember who else got the lower awards there, but the high boat was the Stella June. They fished the tournament for the first time, and I think they had 6 or 7 fish for the trip, and for 2 days. So congratulations to them as well. All right, so heading into the coast. I fished Saturday and I fished Tuesday, I think. I didn't fish as much as I fished last week. Saturday we went in the morning, which I really haven't been doing, and I went with my friends Chris Oakes and Scott Smith. I don't have any video. I had a problem with my camera actually, which is a shame because we had a lot of laughs on the trip. But we had good bass fishing, good grade of fish on average, probably 2 or 3 pounder was an average fish, up to about maybe 5 pounds. They were getting them really well on small swim baits in the morning, like a 5-inch swim bait on a lead head, fishing it in the kelp, just on the surface. Cast out, and just burn it back to the boat. And a little bit later, they started biting the weedless swim bait, and we got a few fish on that. So I think we probably had, I don't know, 25 fish or so, 20 fish for 3 or 4 hours of fishing, and that was fun. You find conditions, catch 2 or 3 fish, 3 or 4 fish, and move on to the next spot, catch a few more. It was kind of hit and run kind of stuff. And talking about that, on Tuesday afternoon, Matt and I fished, or no, Wednesday afternoon, yesterday. We ran into a couple different scenarios that I wanted to kind of break down here, since I could talk out here without dying of heat stroke. One of the things you're going to find wherever you fish bass is that there are different scenarios that you're going to run into, and depending on those scenarios, that's going to dictate how you're going to go about fishing that. And the first example, I have a little video to share here, is that we were running along the kelp, and we were just seeing lots and lots of bait everywhere. No signs of predation, just a lot of bait. Then we found an area that had birds feeding on that bait on the surface. So if there's bait everywhere, and there's only one spot of birds feeding on bait, you can bet that there's something there pushing that bait up. And in this case, it was calico bass. The deal is, where those birds was in the least likely spot of the kelp bed to catch a fish. So it's nothing you can pattern. It's right on the back edge of the bed. And we went in there and we caught a fish, got a couple more bites, in probably a 20-foot section of kelp. But instead of trying to beat it up and recreate that, we just moved on, because there's nothing to pattern there. These are fish, if you have 2-mile stretch of kelp, and you have leading edges and outer edges and all these other things that should aggregate fish, and the only fish you see are not in one of those areas, there's nothing you can do to recreate that scenario. You can go to the back edge of every kelp bed and you're going to catch absolutely nothing. You can go to the leading edge, you might catch something, but we hadn't, so we knew that was a one and done kind of deal. So this video kind of shows that here.
Look at the bite on his back. Look at this. He got some kind of wound.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't see the bite. Oh yeah, boy, yeah. And that's
These things are tough. So catch and release, I don't think really hurts these things.
All right, the next scenario is finding conditions that are not really conducive to holding biting fish, but you have an isolated spot within that area that, regardless of conditions, may produce a bite. In this case, it was the Lunada Bay boiler, which, if you guys are unfamiliar with that, it's just below Rocky Point. It's quite a bit off the beach, and it's got kelp around it. And when the current is running either direction parallel to the beach, that spot can bite well. But if the current is running in towards the shoreline, or if there's no current, it doesn't bite nearly as well. And the only bites you are going to get is where the swell interacts with the boiler. That's what's creating motion there. As we pulled up, I could see that the conditions were not good, and it was going in towards the beach. And so I got the boat close enough to the boiler zone. You know, on a big swell, it will break on low tide. We were out there, it's fairly high tide. You're not really putting yourself in harm's way, but if you're unfamiliar with an area like that, you should probably get really familiar with it before you get too close to it. But I was able to pick up one nice fish, as you can see in this video here. Yes, sir. Watch out. You're safe. Yeah, a lot of bait. Not a lot of bass.
I hear a ball in there.
Yeah, shallow right there. That's getting solid. I wasn't even looking. Bass on a weedless. But after catching that fish, you know, we realized that this spot, so you have, let's say the kelp bed associated with that boiler is maybe 30 feet across by 50 feet long. If current is going the right direction, you can catch fish anywhere in that kelp bed potentially, on the leading edge, outside edge, inside edge, back edge, whatever. When there's no current, or the current's going a bad direction, that spot becomes very small. Now it's just the tip of that boiler that's creating the turbulence that, you know, a bass would use to hunt bait fish to get caught up in that turbulence. So that spot goes from, let's say it's 150 square feet. If you look at the kelp bed, now your bite zone is maybe, no, it'd be 1,500 square feet. Sorry, 15 by 30. Now you're going to a 10 by 10 zone of 100 square feet of potential biting spot. So you know, you can only make so many casts in a 10-foot square, and expect there to be a fish there. So once we caught one, we kind of knew that that was over and it was time to move on. Finally, the last example is something that has not happened at PB for me in a while. Actually, it's the first time this year that I found a stretch of kelp that was biting where I could just drift along it, not constantly having to steer, not constantly have to reposition, not fishing a 20-yard section and having to go back and hit it again, and catch fish consistently. So what was different up there yesterday as opposed to Saturday was all the tiny bait that's been everywhere, just tiny little rice anchovies, is still around, but there are areas of sardine in that zone as well now. And those sardines are about the same size as a 7-inch weedless swim bait. And so the bass are suddenly biting that lure, which they have just, I mean, I don't think I caught 10 weedless fish in the last 2 months up there because the fish were just not keyed in on it to, we probably had 60 or 70 bites on that bait yesterday. So we're fishing the MC weedless 7-inch and we call it called hot cotch, the green back with a gold belly. And you know, you could pinpoint cast kelp stringers, you could fan cast it, bomb cast it, whatever, but those fish were on it. It was a really fun time fishing calicos. And we got quite a few fish. We probably had over 25 fish in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Back on another big one, 24-inch fish, so probably somewhere in the 8-pound range. I got a couple nice ones. Lots of excitement. We had a black sea bass come up and try and eat a bass off the hook, all kinds of stuff. But I've got some video clips here. Kind of shows you some of the action as well as how we're fishing and how we're presenting that bait and setting the hook. And one of the things you're going to notice with Matt fishes was he's going to watch. He always wants to watch that lure in the water. You never want to be casting it so far you can't see it. So when he sees the bass come up behind it, a lot of times he will kill that bait, have that fish eat it, and then he will set the hook on it after that fish is turned away. If you don't do that, you're going to pull the bait away from those fish. And as you can see with the big one he got, that fish ate that bait 3 times before it got the hook, which was kind of interesting. So here's those videos.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Fuck!
Oh
God, he came back on it. He came back on it.
Oh man, I watched that one. Nice one.
You wanted the big one, right? Well,
Yeah, we got a big one. We've got a big one. Look at
Jesus
that
Christ.
thing.
Let's stop fucking around. Let's just get the state record. You know?
We get one that big, it's going to live well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh! Oh my God! He pulled drag. Oh, sea lion. Or
Black sea bass.
Huh?
Black sea bass.
Like a black sea bass? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Jesus. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Pounder.
Huh?
Like an 80 pounder.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Hold it up before you throw it over.
I thought it was a harbor seal. They're biting pretty good now. All stretched out on that boot.
Yep. That one isn't.
Oh, tell you, PV is the land of the giants. I mean, look at this. Ow. 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 Bitch.
Giant bass.
That's right. Crazy. Crazy stuff.
Oh, that one hit it.
Get that one. A big splash. Huh? Okay, oh boy. Jesus Christ. This fucking dinosaur. Oh, there's another one. Jesus. Sorry.
Whoa, look at this thing. Good God.
Yeah. Another nice
They're
one.
biting.
Yeah.
They're big calico bass.
Oh.
Fucking boiled on it.
Yeah. Great.
This is fun.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really. Oh,
Jeez.
stay on. I need a new tail.
Pull them up.
PV. Closer than Clemente.
And you don't need an A-rig.
No. No A-rig needed.
So heading out of the southern coast, I got a report from Kieran Murphy. He fished off Carlsbad the other day. He said he had good hard bait fishing for calicos. They're biting well on the surface. Got some on the Daiwa SP Minnow, and he said it was a fun day of fishing down there. Those bass should be biting everywhere right now. We have 71-degree water was warmest. We were 71.7 down to about 70 at Point Furman. I'm sure it's warmer down the beach. Although it's technically getting into fall, the bass are still in their summer position. But down in San Diego, the new Seaforth has been catching some yellows, and this morning I got two 40-pounders. I think one was 41 pounds, the other one was just over 40. It's pretty amazing grade of a half-day yellowtail right there. So I'd imagine there's probably some squid around down there as well. And that's what those fish are in here feeding on. But yeah, I don't really do that type of fishing down there. I know a lot of guys go down and anchor up and fish or run a gun on bird schools and stuff like that. If you're one of those guys, you don't need me telling you what to do. If you're not, I'm not going to be of much help anyway. But let's head down to the Coronados. Getting a lot more looks now down there again because there's just nothing for the full day boats and to catch down off offshore down there right now, especially with the weather they're having. Makes it tough to even look. But full day boats have just kind of resigned themselves to fishing the Coronados, which is fine. They're catching nice yellowtail. They're catching bluefin tuna, both of which will eat the service iron down there, which is kind of cool. But the best bet still is the flyline bait. San Diego reported the other day that a size 2 to 4 hook on 25 or 30 pound test of the flyline bait is your go-to choice. They're getting some pretty good scores in there sometimes. My friend Marcus fished on the Pinnacle Sport Fishing down there on a full day trip the other day, and he got some nice yellows and some bluefin. And it's a great situation for a 4-pack boat because you're not gonna get hammered by the seals as bad as the sport boats are. And you got the ability to get away from the private boaters because they don't really follow you around like they do the sport boats. So if I was going down there, I'd probably jump on a 4-pack if I could find one with some availability. So let's head offshore. Yesterday I was at PV. I got a call from Jonathan, my friend Jonathan, at about 3:30 or so, saying that he'd heard there's some bluefin up north there, like 20 miles, 25 miles from where I was, and it was just too late in the day to go, and I really did not feel like trying to process a tuna and get home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So I shined it, but he decided to go out this afternoon, and he ran up to that zone. He got a couple of nice fish. He sent me a picture of one here. He's getting those on poppers or stick baits. I haven't talked to him. He was just texting me, but I'll have more information next week on that. But he said good area of fish, foamers up, and biting pretty regularly. He fishes solo. So he got his limit of fish and bailed out of there pretty quick. I talked to Oliver Nye. He's been fishing bluefin. He says when the wind's not blowing 30, which it has been, which has made it pretty tough for him to do it. But he's saying there's a couple grades of fish: the 60 to 80 pound fish, which he's catching on hard baits and poppers, and then the bigger fish, 100 to 160 pounders that they're getting on flying fish. And he sent me some video again this week.
Keep that rod bent!
I'm trying.
Fire, the big ones eat it.
Come on. There we go. Oh, there's a
Babe,
big.
you gotta. He ate it for sure.
Broken, Ron.
60 pounds. Oh, did you get him? He's on, he's on, he's on, he's on.
Damn, I'm good.
Yeah, so if you're interested in fishing with him, sadly he's booked up through the end of September, but he does have some October dates available. I don't see a reason why those fish won't stick around again this year that long. Seems to be more fish around than there were earlier in the year. So, yeah, unless we get some crazy weather, which it doesn't seem like we're going to. So, over the weekend, the weather outside was frightful, but the tuna were so delightful. I don't know. That's some song. I don't even know what that's from. I'm probably going to regret even saying that. But the Thunderbird went out on a 2-day trip and to try and catch big bluefin, and according to Markland, just beat themselves to death the whole time. Sheer misery. He has a way of complaining about things that makes it sound even worse than it is. But they still caught a lot of big bluefin. They're getting them on the kite, and I think on the jigs at night. So, you know, weather should be a lot better out there this weekend, so hopefully he can go out and not complain so much. The Legend was also out there on a 3-day trip, and they had 138 bluefin for their trip. They had good fly line fishing during the day on a smaller grade fish, and then the big ones were biting the jigs at night. So I think the only thing worse than fishing at night for bluefin tuna for me would be doing it when it's rough. That just sounds horrible, but yeah, at least none of the sport boats roll around much while drifting. American Angler was out there doing the same thing. Sean Stewart from the Great Light and Aloha Spear went down there, got a nice bluefin at night before heading back up and catching some sea bass this week. But yeah, out at Tanner and Cortez, it's still biting. The weather, I think, kept a lot of boats off this week, but it's going to lay down out there. And one day earlier this week, the Thunderbird on a an overnight trip went out there, which is a pretty long 80-mile run for an overnight trip. They had 47 bluefin and then a yellowtail. So I think the day-and-a-half boats will probably be able to put some good scores together out there. They got a little more fishing time, and they might get into that nighttime jig bite as well. So, you know, if you're an overnight going on a day-and-a-half trip or 2-day trip, I'd bring everything to fly line baits. For, you know, tuna and yellowtail, I bring stuff to fish sea bass and yellows at the island. I bring jigging tackle for big bluefin tuna, and you know, all that nonsense. One of the reasons I don't do those trips is because it just sounds difficult to get all that kind of stuff together and drag it down to the boat, and then, you know, just be around all those people for 2 days, to be honest. But yeah, that's about. I have no idea what I'm going to do this weekend, but I'm sure it's probably going to be something bass related. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and good luck if you fish.